Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us for this panel on transparency in the face of climate skepticism. For this discussion today, we have with us Mr. Stelios Kakoulidis, Chief Innovation Officer at Thrace Group, Mr. Antonis Mountouris, Group HSC and Sustainability Development Director at HELLENiQ Energy, Mr. Antonis Sagris, Head of Corporate Development and ESG at Piraeus, and my colleague Ed Rhys, who is a Partner and Associate Director and leads Climate Policy and Regulation for BCG. Thank you all for being with us. My name is Chryssos Kavounides. I'm a Managing Director and Partner at BCG here in Athens. The context of our discussion today is the change in narrative around climate. For many years, governments, organizations, companies have had climate at the top of their agenda. They have adapted to new regulation. They have adopted aggressive targets, and they have invested heavily their capital in the transition to a more sustainable model. We find ourselves in a situation with a new geopolitical reality that is driving a very different narrative around climate. And whereas until now there has always, of course, been noise around the burden of regulation, the implication on competitiveness between different regions, now we find ourselves with a varying narrative between different regions about climate, starting from very mild toning down in terms of simplicity of regulation or in terms of aggressivity of targets or timelines, to fundamentally winding back many of the climate commitments. What we're going to discuss today is how our business is perceiving this new reality, what it means for them, both domestically but also on a global level, and thank you, Ed, for being with us to bring that perspective, and what the implications are for their companies in terms of tangible actions and how their plans and actions and activities are changing day to day on the back of that. So, Adoni, if I can start with you. The energy sector is and has been at the epicenter of the sustainability and climate topic, given the criticality around the energy transition. How are you seeing this new narrative and how this is impacting regulation globally, of course here in Europe and Greece, but also across the globe, and how you as an energy company perceiving that and addressing it?
Thank you very much for the invitation to this very interesting panel today. Indeed, the energy sector is at the forefront of both emissions and transition to sustainable practices. In Europe especially, the policy and market landscape for energy players is evolving rapidly, driven by several key factors. For example, following recent Draghi and Letta reports, the European Union is streamlining its climate regulations to enhance competitiveness. And the example of the recent omnibus package that consolidates and refines existing sustainability and climate regulations, for example, the carbon border adjustment mechanism, is aiming to reduce administrative burdens while maintaining high sustainability standards. This approach is designed to foster a more dynamic, let's say, business environment with a focus on enabling European firms to innovate and compete globally. To that direction and under the geopolitical pressures, I think that there is a strong emphasis on setting practical and data-driven targets, more realistic targets, I might say. Business leaders and energy leaders especially are increasingly viewing geopolitical tensions as significant risks to economic growth and demand, resilient and adaptable policies. And especially in Europe, there is a stronger need for this. By focusing on data-driven strategies, companies can navigate these challenges more effectively, ensuring that their sustainability efforts are both realistic and impactful. We all agree that energy transition towards climate neutrality is necessary, but what needs to be adapted to real market and geopolitical conditions is the speed of this transition. And this is the reason, I think, of the recent revision that took place on sustainability targets on some major energy players in Europe and globally. And also we have to take into consideration the contrast between the EU and the US different approaches to climate regulation and to enhance energy transition. I think that the EU model is characterized by stringent rules and regulations aiming to ensure compliance mainly and drive sustainability through legal mandates. In contrast, US, we see that the focuses on incentives, such as tax credits and subsidies, to encourage business to adapt sustainability practice. I think that this difference highlights the difference between the two regions and the different way that US use financial incentives to stimulate innovation, investment, and to achieve similar goals. And I think that EU policymakers have to seriously take into consideration this approach. Finally, important point and target, let's say, is the trilemma, the energy trilemma, as we describe it. The energy security, the affordability, and decarbonization seem to be interconnected priorities in most of the cases by reducing dependence on important energy and fossil fuels and by increasing resilience on domestic energy and fuels production, including sustainable fuels, hydrogen, critical minerals for clean energy. The European nations can enhance their energy security while advancing decarbonization efforts. In summary, the European energy sector is navigating a complex landscape of regulatory reforms, geopolitical challenges, and evolving priorities. But we are hoping that the recent efforts towards rationalization will be shaping a competitive, secure, and sustainable future for energy players in Europe, while we have to closely monitor the global approaches, particularly those in the US, especially during these turbulent times, I might say.
Thank you, Antonis. So I hear more pragmatism, but keep going in the route, and I hear a note of contained positivity.
Yeah.
Adonis, the financial sector is the other Adonis. This is the financial services sector is another one which was at the heart of this drive for sustainability because of the critical role that banks play through financing of their clients to drive the ESG agenda. Here we're seeing a more, I would say, open difference in approach between the US and Europe, with Europe really doubling down on ESG frameworks, US really rolling back on that. How does that affect banks like yourselves, and how do you see this diverging picture?
Thank you for having me. I must congratulate you on the title of the panel. Skepticism. Oh, I had it wrong then. It's going to set the pace for decarbonization. We've been seeing quite a different approach between US and the EU. In the EU, we're seeing some backlash and some retaliation in the sense of the targets that have been, let's say, set. Rather, the trend for EU is mostly in consolidation and standardization. There's been a misalignment between the global economy in terms of decarbonization. There have been quite a few changes in society and political, let's say, policies and priorities at this point. And a lot of jurisdictions we've noticed that either have taken back or reconsidering, recalibrating their journey to a net zero path. This has a lot of challenges that we'll be facing in the next period. Most of the challenges would be, barriers in the trade spectrum, let's say. We've been experiencing them these days, actually. Another thing that we'll be seeing, we won't be seeing a multilateral environment. We'll be seeing a more uneven growth. So this has, something to have in mind as well. In terms of approach, EU has the more prescriptive, as Antonis mentioned a little bit earlier, a more direct, let's say, regulatory and compliance approach. Sometimes this approach would have, a sort of a uniformity and standardization, but it might have some backlash in terms of, market, let's say, considerations. So this might be detrimental as well. It might have some various, let's say, negative effects too. In the sense also of the opportunity, the EU has a vital opportunity in the sense of reconsidering and adopting its approach with the new, let's say, components that are facing the market as we speak. These conditions, in terms of the global context, can prove to be a competitive advantage for the whole European Union. I think a sort of a consistency and transparency would be a very key, would play a key role to it. Adopting these policies, especially in the financial sector, putting, let's say, some water in the wine, if I may use that proverb, it might be useful at this point because it's going to kind of stimulate a little bit the demand of transition finance, and it's quite important. In terms of Piraeus Bank, we're setting the pace in the sense of supporting the transition finance. We're supporting our clients towards that journey. And as financiers and as standard setters, I think we're prepared in order to, see all the prospects of economic growth leading to that point.
Okay, clear. And Stelios, you come from a material-intensive industry, from a company that has innovated a lot and led to remain relevant in a changing landscape on the broader sustainability topic, not just energy transition. How do you see this evolving environment? Do you see it as a risk, as a burden? Do you see it as a trigger for further innovation? Mm-hmm. How are you addressing it, and how are you putting it?
Thank you for the invitation. Just to say, I need to look on my iPad because my brain thinks in Greek, so the iPad is helping me for the answers. So, first of all, there is no denying there is skepticism in the conversation. And at the same time, there are sustainability messages that are starting to feel overused. Now, people are asking, is this still a priority? Is it making a difference? The answer is simple. You fight doubt with action. So how we could tackle skepticism? We need, first, trust building. Second, evidence-based advocacy. And also, third, cross-sector collaboration. This is how we show that sustainability it isn't just a trend, it's a change that can be backed by proof. Now, answering to your question, I would say that there are both here. We have opportunities, and of course, for an industrial group like we are, with 17 manufacturing plants in 6 European countries and in the US, mainly we are converting plastics, and we are producing technical fabrics and packaging products. So for us, being mainly on the plastic sector, the opportunity is clear. We have to create value for our customers and the society through circular products and services, and we can do that. We can do that. We started early enough because you know that for the plastics industry, the story started in the beginning of 2010. So for us, we have already redesigned our product lines with circularity in mind, and we have implemented the core of the circular economy. What is the core of the circular economy? It's reduce, reuse, recycle. So, reduce. Already, we have reduced weight by more than 10% in 1 out of 5 rigid packaging products that we are producing worldwide. Just to mention, for us, 90% of our sales are happening outside of Greece. Second, we offer products and consulting services to our clients and to the consumers for reusing, which is, believe me, theoretically is something that it is, let's say, preferred by consumers, but the reality is that it is not. And also, we offer easily recyclable products, and we try to maximize the use of recycled material because for us, this is the core of the circular economy. And now we have achieved more than 13,000 tons of plastic to be used from recycling materials and substituting the virgin materials. Now, some years ago, we started also a new business. Most of you, maybe you don't heard of it. We own the biggest greenhouse in Southeast Europe, which is fueled by a deep geothermal well, and it is hydroponic. Now, this installation produces the lowest CO2 and environmental footprint vegetables in the world. Let me tell you a small story. We started to promote the low CO2 footprint. In Greece, nobody cared. We went to Switzerland, which is considered a country that is very focused on sustainability. Even there, the market is not ready yet. Now, going to the burdens. Yes, there are burdens. There are huge burdens in the implementation of EU regulations. Why? Because the EU regulations, most of the times, are regulations and laws that have been in compromise of many different kinds of people. And most of the times, they have not been designed to be implemented correctly. And imagine if it is difficult to implement it in the EU, what is happening outside the EU? This creates a huge problem for EU businesses, and this is already happening because there are strict rules that we have to apply to, and the production in foreign countries, they don't have to apply, and no, they can surpass it. It's very easy. This creates huge problem in the European industry and in manufacturing. And for example, which I don't know if you know it, one of the sectors that are suffering completely now is the recycling and the investments in recycling in all EU countries. So we want recycling, but with the way we are applying the regulations, we are killing recycling in Europe. That's for now.
Thank you very much. What I hear Antonis and Stelios together is there are opportunities out there. There's financing for those opportunities. There's potentially business cases for those opportunities. But an environment where the regulatory burden is lightened and simplified would be extremely welcome and would act, at least to some degree, in rebalancing some of the competitiveness issues. Ed, can you give us a more global perspective on how is this manifesting itself in different parts of the world and what are the implications you see and what that means for this competitive dynamic that we see between regions as a result?
Yeah, absolutely. So last year, as many of you would have spotted, was a kind of electoral super cycle. We had most of the world being represented in elections last year. And the US election, I think, looms large in our imaginations, and the implications, I think, particularly for the energy transition, for climate sustainability. But I would argue that it is something of an outlier. If you go through most of the major elections last year, the consequences of those elections are either kind of a continuation of existing policies, whether you look at India, Indonesia, South Africa, or in some cases, actually, there's increased ambition, there's a mandate for further change. The UK, the EU, I think, are both examples of that. So I think what's happened in the US in terms of the federal elections, the federal administration, absolutely is a challenge both for US emissions, for some of the tax credits that you were mentioning, Adonis, that are in place there, may fall away as part of budgetary negotiations coming up. And it's painful for the global momentum on the energy transition. But if you look elsewhere, there is still momentum, there is still interest in pushing forward the transition. I think there are a couple of reasons for that. I think one has been put quite well actually earlier in this conversation, is that there are some opportunities here for kind of win-win-wins, right? So if you're in the EU or the UK, there's a real opportunity here to reduce your cost of energy, improve your competitiveness, improve your energy security, find opportunities for growth if you follow a decarbonisation plan. But you need to raise the capital and you need to make the financing work. It needs to be a long-term strategy. You need to keep things aligned. The same day that the Omnibus Bill came out, there was also the Clean Industrial Deal announced by the European Commission, which was a response to the Mario Draghi report that was mentioned, which sets out some of the ways that you don't just streamline the regulation, but you put in place some of the supporting mechanisms, supporting policies in place to make that happen. The other thing I think that's driving economies is the opportunity in terms of someone needs to make all the technologies, all the products, all the services that are going to deliver this transition. So we estimate it's worth $11 trillion by 2040, this market. Now, at the moment, that's dominated by China. They dominate up to 80% of key value chains at key steps. Many other countries are going after that. Again, if you look around, say, around a dozen major economies around the world, they have ambition to be producing green hydrogen or green steel or solar or wind turbines. And this is becoming a competitive place. And I think people on this stage and people in this room would agree that competition, if you can harness it, can be a really powerful force. So it's great to see that competition to serve the decarbonisation market as well as the push to decarbonise together as well.
Fantastic, thank you. So going a little bit more into action on what it means in practice for each of you, Adonis, starting again with you, in terms of collaboration, innovation, and the key actions that you're taking as a business in view of this ongoing effort, right? As you said, the ball's rolling, we need to keep it going. What does that mean for HELLENiQ?
Thank you for the question. HELLENiQ Energy is committed to leading energy transition through a comprehensive strategy that prioritizes climate and sustainability initiatives. Let me briefly describe some of them. First of all, regarding the new energy, let's say, sector, as we say, HELLENiQ Energy aims to achieve 2 gigawatt of operational renewable energy sources capacity by 2030. This includes expanding its portfolio of photovoltaic and wind projects both in Greece and in Southeast Europe. The group has already positioned itself as a leading player in the Greek and other selected markets, with a portfolio of projects under development exceeding 5.2 gigawatt. The total installed capacity in 2024 reached almost 500 megawatt, with major projects in Greece, Cyprus, and Romania. Regarding initiatives for improvement of our core business, let's say the refining activities, we are implementing energy efficiency and energy autonomy projects across all 3 refineries in Greece, including cogeneration plants. And also our investment plans include production of biofuels through the development of a new standalone sustainable aviation fuel production in Aspropyrgos refinery, carbon capture and storage projects with options for fuels productions through the conversion of the steam methane reforming in the Elefsina refinery. The Elefsina refinery is in fact is said to be a test bed for energy transition for us and decarbonization, through investments in energy efficiency and the development of a blue hydrogen and a pilot green hydrogen project, which involves the production of hydrogen using renewable energy. Also, we are developing the so-called Green Hub North project, which involves the installation of a photovoltaic battery energy storage system and a direct high voltage line to the HELLENiQ refinery. And of course, regarding innovation, we are exploring opportunities within the hydrogen economy, recycling and synthetic fuels, including the production of e-methanol and e-jet fuels by utilizing a portion of the captured carbon dioxide from the carbon capture storage unit, and also e-ammonia by using the excess electricity of the Green Hub North project at the HELLENiQ refinery. Also, we are investing in high value-added petrochemical products by increasing polypropylene production capacity to 300 kilotons per annum from the existing 240. And very important is in that framework that we have to mention that an essential component of the group's transformation strategy is the digital transformation program, which is progressing successfully by upgrading the way our people work, supporting performance improvement initiatives, and expanding its footprint in new areas of business activities. The digital transformation program, initiated 5 years ago, with a total investment of 65 million euros, and has already generated substantial financial returns, namely 100 million euros cumulative financial benefit, and is projected to reach 200 million euros by the end of 2026. These efforts aim to enhance safety, competitiveness, energy efficiency, and the adoption of best practices, and also innovation and collaboration in general central to HELLENiQ energy strategy. Collaborations with industry leaders, research institutions, and technology providers are essential for us for developing and implementing cutting-edge technologies and other solutions. These partnerships enable us to leverage external expertise and resources to accelerate our sustainability initiatives. And regarding continuous improvement of our transformation plan, the group's strategy integrates sustainability across all business units, ensuring that environmental, social, and governance, the ESG criteria, are embedded in decision-making processes and operational practices, as we report comprehensively in our annual reports and a recent sustainability statement according to the European regulation. So by prioritizing these initiatives and fostering a culture of innovation and collaboration, HELLENiQ Energy is driving the transition to a sustainable, low-carbon future.
Thank you, Antonis. And just to highlight, we're talking about not only containing your footprint as a business, but developing products that help your clients and the broader economy use lower carbon footprint products. You mentioned innovation and collaboration. I know, Stelios, you're very passionate about this. How does that manifest itself in Thrace's vision going forward?
Now, we are very lucky, and I'm especially glad because I will share with you a fantastic case that we have with HELLENiQ Energy. Because talking about innovation today is not simple if, as we said before, we don't go to a cross-sector collaboration. Now, in 2017, we started to think about how we could facilitate further the collaboration and the innovation and the circular economy. So at that time, we created a platform. at the beginning we didn't know how to call it. We call it a platform, which we call it in the loop. So this platform was open to all value chain players to create circular economy projects. Today we have more than 250 partners in this platform, and a very nice and successful case is the collaboration with HELLENiQ Energy. No, listen, with HELLENiQ Energy we are doing a closed loop system. Closed loop is the best thing in circular economy. How this is happening? HELLENiQ Energy is producing polypropylene. And we are giving them the sacks, the industrial sacks, that they are using to move polypropylene all around their clients. After the delivery of polypropylene to the clients and to us, which we are a major client of them, we collect the industrial sacks and we don't discard them. We shred them, we reprocess them into high-quality recycled material, and we use again the material coming from the sacks to make new sacks. And we send the sacks again to HELLENiQ. So this is fully circular loop with lower emissions, reduced waste. And because I'm an engineer and I like numbers, let's go to the numbers now. We started this collaboration, this specific collaboration in 2021. In the beginning, we used 17% of HELLENiQ Energy closed-loop material for the industrial sacks. And now we arrived in 2025 to use up to 50%. So totaling in these 4 years, more than 280 tons of virgin material that has been saved. Now, because we like environmental footprint. The lowering in the beginning was 15%, and now is approaching 40%, 40. So, this is a nice and clear message how the cross-sector collaboration can prove that sustainability can create value for everybody. Also, with HELLENiQ, we are collaborating because we receive, recycle, and use in our products their manufacturing waste. So, again, there is an extra point for collaboration. Now, this can help climate skepticism. And I'm going to close with the following. At the end, it's not important if we believe or not on the climate skepticism. Let's imagine the one scenario. Climate change is happening because it always happened, and these are the changes in the climate system of the Earth, or it's something that is happening because of human intervention. The facts are saying that something is happening and is changing, and we have the data. So what we have to do, even if it is the Earth, even if it is not the Earth, or even if we help more the Earth to make it happening quicker, we have to confront it. We have to make a risk analysis to see what is the danger for us and what are the opportunities. Clear and simple. Value. Value for customers and society. Thank you.
Thank you. Antoni, I'm hearing that there's a lot of opportunities to finance things out there. So what does it mean for a bank like yourselves in terms of initiatives to finance these kind of projects and these kind of initiatives?
Well, the financial industry remains committed.
I think your microphone.
No. Green.
The financial industry remains committed in financing and supporting the real economy growth, including also commitments, net zero and transitioning as well. It's been there all this time. Much is being done voluntarily in the internal market, the internal industry, either with a capital allocation, either with developing investment and financing strategies, or even in risk management. We mentioned risk management as well. However, while the financial industry has been strongly supportive of the EU climate goals, there is a difference in the sense that it's only the enabler of the transition. It's not the lone driver of it. So that's an important thing. We mentioned that there's an investment gap, needs of trillions of euros. I don't know whether all these trillions are an investment opportunity as well. A bank, usually a financial industry, all European banks actually consider the risk factors and return factors as well. So if, let's say, an investment story is viable economically, it makes sense, and the flow of capital will go to those investment projects. There's no doubt about it. But how can you do it at a scale? How can you produce all these changes and these transitions in order to influence everybody, especially in our jurisdiction? Assuming that the fundamental preconditions are in place and these projects are indeed viable, I think the capital and the financing would come at scale and would support, let's say, customer needs like the ones that were mentioned today, but also public policy ambitions. Piraeus Bank has been very supportive in terms of transition. It has a portfolio of close to 3.8 and an ambition of reaching close to 6 billion by 2028 in financing these type of investment plans as well. Greek banks have the capital, have the liquidity, and do have the appetite in order to support these transition and climate goals. The important thing also in this sense is they use their own funds, they use also the European facilities. Just a couple of weeks ago, I think last month actually, the Commission approved preliminaries, was very supportive with the fifth tranche of the RRF. The RRF is a very important, let's say, tool, and it's a great opportunity for the Greek economy as well. We're talking like 59% of the total earmarked funds are already used in the Greek economy, which is quite supportive in the sense of, making a model which is more sustainable. And that's the important thing. We talked about synergies here as well. It's an area where business talk to peers. We talk with the financial industry, and we talk also with the government and the state. This collaboration, I think, would give us, the pace to go ahead.
Thank you. So what I'm hearing is that we should rename this panel Transparency, Collaboration, Innovation, and Data in the Face of Climate Skepticism. And to close, Ed, can you just remind us, you see all the latest figures in your role. What is really at stake if we don't continue down the road that we started?
So we did some work recently on, there seems to be a bit of a gap between what the climate scientists are shouting about and what the economists are able to calculate. And then you've got to translate that then into the business cases for today. We had a look at this. If we stay on our current trajectory and we hit 3 degrees by the end of this century, we're going to lose out on around 15 to 34% of cumulative GDP. That's a lot of healthcare. It's a lot of defense. That's a lot of education. If we invest about 1 to 2% of GDP over that period, although it's front-loaded, we need to do it fast, then we can reduce that to around 11 to 27%. That's how much we could save. The net cost of inaction is 11 to 27% of cumulative GDP. So at a macro level, macro global level, the economic case for solving this problem is absolutely unambiguous, and I think those numbers are low because they don't take into account tipping points and other factors. So we can kind of get that and translate that into decision-making today, business cases today, I think we can get back on the right path. But it's a big challenge, but with a big win at the end. Thanks.
Sobering numbers. Ed, thank you. Everyone, thank you very much for being part of the panel today. And thank you everyone for joining us.
Thank you.